prayer?
You designated prayer man.
That's it. We'll call the meeting of the Utilities Committee for February the 11th to order. Madam Secretary, all members present except for Councilman Turner. If we would, everyone stand for the invocation and pledge. Mr. Cagnolati is going to lead us in the invocation, followed by the pledge.
Heavenly Father, we ask your blessings on this meeting tonight. We ask that you guide us and make the decisions in the best interest of all who live in Ascension Parish. We ask your blessings over the soldiers who fight for our freedom that we so graciously and forever take for granted. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. John. First off, I want to welcome Mr. John Cagnolati to the committee. As our only new member this term. We appreciate your service and welcome you to our little humble committee here. Chair's addition, couple things. On item number 9, we're going to go ahead and scratch that one. Seems that we've had a little bug sweep through the administration the last couple of days. Mr. Dawson's out sick this evening. The other thing, just a real quick note, we had a meeting last week with DEQ talking to those folks about wetland assimilation, and we've got some names of some local facilities who have those types of treatment, since that's what's being proposed in our P3 response. So we're going to be scheduling a little field trip to go take a swing and look at a couple of those type of systems, try to educate ourselves, similar to what we did with the other type of systems that we've looked at. And I know, Mr. John, if we're able to get you on that trip, we may pass by one of the other facilities that we've looked at before to kind of give you an idea of what that was about down around the Houma area. So
that.
we'll be getting in touch with you guys to kind of coordinate some dates here in the near future. Public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak on any item on the agenda can do so at the time when the item comes up. If you would, step up and sign in with the secretary, and we'll give you 3 minutes at that time to, to comment. Update on People's Water Acquisition. Talked to Mr. Dawson today. We've been through, I won't call it preliminary approval. We've been to the PF, Public Service Commission, PSC, excuse me, and they've asked for public comment, and they have heard no objections to that. So we're looking to those guys for the next step, which should be going to them as far as potentially getting on the meeting to have that acquisition approved through them, which would be one of the final steps that we have to do. So unless someone has some questions on that, that's where we are with that one. Update on the P3 negotiations. They have been in contact with the group and working on the language as far as the contract, and before they start breaking it up to bring to us as far as discussion to determine the exact how we're going to basically go about working through the details of the agreement in the end. So that's kind of where we are with that. Mr. Joseph?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, when you say P3, is we talking about our private partnership?
Yeah, private-public partnership.
Okay.
On the sewer.
Okay, so it's just not that one area we was talking about. We talking about the
Yeah,
whole.
it's they're setting up. There's 2 things that they've done. They put out an RFP for a owner representative, a company to come in and represent us with some technical information, background to help advise us on negotiations and actually going through with the project. Depending on how that works it may be something short-term. It may turn into something that winds up for a fairly lengthy period with that RFP. But they're there to represent us and make sure that they understand what our goals are and that we make the right decisions and the things we want in the contract that need to be there, so that would, an owner's rep. But as far as the contract itself, it's how do you, in the negotiations as far as the overall agreement, that would be with the private-public partnership. They're getting some language together and coming up with how we're going to break that down to make it make sense. And we can kind of take some small bites out of that at a time to work through that agreement.
One more question.
Sure.
Okay, and I understood by talking, it's like two different RFP, one for legal and one for, I would say, public-private partnership advisory for us and financial. It's like two different.
I haven't heard about the financial part of it. I know the legal part, if I remember correctly, we gave them permission to contract someone, I forget the dollar amount, last year for legal representation, someone that can understand the legal verbiage of wastewater. And so they're working with that, as well as the new RFP is something we're going to have to approve through my conversation with Mr. Parrington today. I believe we're routing that through the Finance Committee. And we may have a special, I'm sorry, I take that back. We may have a early meeting next month of this committee to go through the RFP for the owner rep.
Okay.
So they should be getting the bids in on that late this month, if I remember correctly. Mr.
Yeah,
Allen?
yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to be sure for the record, so you're saying this RFP that went out, it does include or does not include both financial and technical components?
It's an owner representation. So as far as the financial part of it, I'm not sure of.
Okay.
I'd have to defer that to Ken or the parish president. But I know that it's what they deemed it as an owner rep, and I don't remember that specific of the details.
Okay. Question number 2, when does this RFP close?
As far as being able to provide a bid on it?
Yeah,
or
if you're an
proposal?
outsider and you want to, respond to the request for proposal, what's the drop dead date?
I think the
It's
25th, huh?
Yeah, sometime around within the next 2 weeks,
This
somewhere in that
25th
timeframe.
of
But
this
it's-
month?
Yeah, that's not exact. I don't remember the exact date on it. but
And
it's
will the
somewhere-
process then thereafter be as usual? In other words, in picking the winner, will that go through this committee or go directly up to the full council?
They will have an engineering selection committee meet, and their recommendations will be brought to this committee first,
So
is what my conversation was today.
the typical process?
Yes.
Which would put, on the 25th, us back maybe another, is it possible at our next meeting, maybe, if we meet next month, that we would be considering the RFP or not?
Yes, no, that should be something that they want to have decided, and the conversation I had with them this afternoon was that it will be a meeting first part of next month to bring specifically, if nothing else, to bring that forward to us, is the selection committee's recommendations on the RFP.
Okay, and I don't know where we are, 4 or 5?
Still on,
No, in terms of
on
my
number
number,
6.
my
yeah.
number of questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
On number 6. Can we get a copy of the RFP?
It's on.
It's
Oh, is it?
online, I'm
It's
sure you can.
online?
Yeah.
Okay, I just was, okay.
And I'm sure if nothing else,
And
we,
Can send it out.
Doc,
yeah, contact.
I think I just got forwarded the 23rd.
Okay.
23rd is the date.
Okay.
Not the 25th.
Right.
Right.
No, it's
Thank you. I'll take a look online. Thank you very much.
Okay. And if you have any issue or questions about it or can't get a hold of it, you can contact Ms. Kimlin. She'll be able to, someone will be able to get that to you, or Michael Terry or somebody.
We can email that to you. The selection committee meeting will be held after notification. So we have to place the notice and advertise 7 days. A week later, we'll have the
Right.
meeting, and then the next utilities meeting, we'll be
Right.
able to bring it before you and let you know who was selected.
Right. I wouldn't mind having Kim on all those dates, because that way, if I'm free, I may actually go to the engineering selection committee meeting.
Okay, I'll send all that to you in the morning.
Appreciate it, dear.
Okay.
I don't, well, we call it on the rep selection, huh?
Yes,
That's
the
what we
owner's
call it.
rep selection, correct. On this part. This is what that RFP is about.
Mr.
Mr.
Chair, just for
Catlin?
my own clarification.
Sure.
Owner's rep, this RFP is to select a firm or person that will be looking out for our interests
Correct.
throughout the process.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and my understanding of it too is that that's one of the recommendations or things of the financial folks on that end, if I remember correctly, that they wanted to see that part of it to make sure that, everything's above board with it.
Makes good sense.
I
Good to
don't
see.
think we can go any further without having representation, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and everybody's kind of hitting on it, and it's right. We need the legal aspect of it because we're dealing with something, although the private-public partnership stuff has been done in Louisiana, it has not been done for sewer. The other part of it, and making sure that from a legal standpoint of view, that our concerns are met, and we understand what we can and can't do inside the agreement, as well as the financial part of it, having somebody there look out for our interests to make sure that whatever the return or the cost are of the system and what the return is going to be guaranteed, that we understand that as well. And then also from the engineering the technical standpoint of view, as far as the actual system itself. And exactly what part of that owner's rep is going to play. Again, I'd have to refer to the RFP, and I don't remember right off the top of my head.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is not a question, but just a comment. I've been advised that when the serious negotiations do begin, and we've selected this owner rep company or individual, whatever, that there will be a keeping of a term sheet. I've learned a lot about that. The advice is that we should keep that at the parish level, and with whoever the company is we hire. So I want to go on the record to say I really hope that that's what we're going to do. I'm reasonably certain we probably will do that. Thank you.
All righty. Anybody else? Okay, item number 7, discussion of tail line discharge locations. I've come to understand over the last couple of months that basically when someone goes to get a permit for a sewer discharge individual resident, that the only qualification that the DHH gives them to give them the permit is that it discharges into a parish maintained ditch.
Parish or state?
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
So what that's done in at least one particular area, or the big concern is when you go to for future development and residents that are being built. The concern that brings to my mind is that if we have a resident that puts a tail line into a ditch that's not on the road, or you have an existing area that's not necessarily, say, houses backed up to an existing servitude, if we decide to run when and if the sewer system comes into play, you run a line down the road, then it's going to be either tremendous expense to that individual owner to wind up running their line to the front ditch on the road, or is you have enough of them in both areas, is the parish going to wind up having to not only run a line down the road, but also run a line behind several residences, so it runs the cost of your acquisition up as far as right-of-way type stuff. And so what basically I wanted to bring this up for discussion tonight is how do we, I think it's something that we need to remedy in the sense of whether it be someone within parish government determining whether we have a servitude behind residents that we're going to run a pipe to, and we get everyone to discharge behind their houses in that particular section, or whether we're going to go down the highway or the roadway with a line, and so require folks to run their tail lines in that direction for any new development. The other thing that it does is I've got several residents with this issue, and talking to Councilman Joseph before the meeting, apparently he does as well, to where you've got an individual residence that their sewer discharges into the roadside ditch, and they have some type of off-side drainage right there near their residence, and then they've got a parish-maintained ditch behind it, and so they wind up with sewer on 3 or 4 sides of the residence because of these tail lines being allowed to discharge into a quote-unquote parish-maintained ditch that doesn't necessarily, it's not uniform. For whatever reason, that individual resident decided to put the tail line behind their house, on the side of their house, whatever it may be, as opposed to going into the roadside ditch. What I would like to see is if anyone has any comments or anything, I'd like to, we'll talk to Mr. Parrington about drafting some type of change in the ordinance that would give someone the authority to choose, if you will, or designate a specific ditch for that outfall to go to. Mr. Joseph.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, that is a problem in my area. I have a small community called Lemonville, and they have a roadside ditch in front, and most of them put it in the front ditch, but then they have houses on the back end of it, and they put a little community ditch that we've been maintaining for years, and their sewage outlet is going right between those two residents. And I do understand what you mean. We have to fix this problem for the future, and hoping in that language based on this master sewage plan that we can coordinate that based on how that plan going to be mapped out in the future. And I think that will eliminate that issue, you know. But once again, it is a major issue, and I think that language should be making sure that at the Department of Public Health look at it and make a common sense decision how it affect the community, you know. But when you are putting outlet between 2 and 3 residents, and the ditch is only a foot wide, a foot deep, that is not considered an outlet sewage, you know. That's third world treatment, you know. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And we definitely need to do something about that, because that is a growing issue in my district for sure.
Okay. So I'll do that. Anyone else have any comments or suggestions on that? I'll get with Mr. Parrington about that and get him working on the ordinance and changing the language up in there. I think we'll have to do something from the, I don't know if they can go through DHH to do it, but I think when they go get their permit, that it would have to be something that would be designated by someone in utilities or somewhere that would basically look at that and see what the easiest thing to do is put it in a road ditch if that's all possible. Sometimes you run into some issues because of elevations and such that may cause us problems with going to that, but typically when you run into those kind of problems, there's other neighbors that face the same thing, so they went, you know, in a back ditch or what have you. We just gotta make it as uniform as possible, so I'll brush that.
But you just made a statement that if you go through the utility, and I don't think when they're asking for that permit for a septic tank or a MODAD or a sewage treatment plant, I mean, small one, individual houses, right, which those are the one that we have problems with.
Right.
They go through our utility department because they go directly through the permit and through the health department.
That's right.
So, I mean, we definitely have to change that process.
That's right.
Before they do a hookup.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Item number 8, which is the ACUD1 chlorine residual control. Ms. Bianca, you want to give us an update on that, please?
Good evening. Okay, our chlorine residual has been great on both sides of our system. Also, we've been getting a better residual at the point of entry from St. James and Assumption side. DHH require for us to maintain a 0.5 throughout the distribution system, and since our chlorine burn, we have maintained a 0.5 and above throughout the system, so we've been doing pretty good.
And we completed a burn on both sides of the system, correct?
Yes, yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Well, I see the chlorine booster that's down the road.
Yeah.
So I just want to just give hats off to the utility department for doing that. I know we've been having that problem on the west side, but once again, I know they've been working real hard, and great job, and the people are dedicated in fixing those problems. All right? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'd like to also commend the administration and the utilities department for being proactive on this. I mean, even though we did have the amoeba issue last year, we were working on some proactive steps to do a burn with DHH on that prior to that happening, and was able to work through it and get it in on the St. James side, if I remember correctly, for the second burn that we weren't required to do. But again, to get the chlorine residuals up and to clean out the system, if you will, we took those proactive steps to get that done.
Right.
You, Sally?
Yeah, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for the record, the brain-eating amoeba situation, since we've gotten proactive with this, we have seen nothing in that regard anymore, right?
That's correct.
Just so the people outside understand that. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? All right, we're going to skip item 9 and move on to item 10, updates on the chlorine booster system. Mr. Carl, you got an update for us on that?
Sure do. Good evening. We have designed 2 chloramine booster station sites for Assumption side of the ACUD1 and for St. James. And we are in the process of procuring a consultant to put together a quote package and a site plan to house one. One of them on the Assumption side is proposed to go at Palo Alto Tower, and we're looking at possibly, and I'd like to speak to Mr. Joseph afterward, some property near the jail to set the other one.
Yeah, we definitely have to look at that location right there. I think that will. And if you don't mind,
No,
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Joseph?
I would hope you will put it at an entry close to the Lemonville entry on the River Road, and that's just because the system is not looped. And if you put it in the center of it, I think we may have a problem. But once again, I'm pretty sure we're going to get consultant to review that.
Right.
But personally, I just see if we're going to put in, we put in where the entry of the water is closer to possible where it is. In that way, the water will go throughout the whole system.
Okay.
And I know I have asked that question to some of the other people, and they was wondering if it was a safety issue. But I'm pretty sure that it have to be enclosed, have to be fenced in.
Correct.
And I know we had it at one time at the McCall site, and we never had any problem with any, security issue. So hopefully we look at a different location on that once we get those experts to look at that.
We will do that. And I think the concern was this one involved chlorine tanks, and near the park is where they were proposing to put it. And there was some safety concerns there. But it is designed to go inside of an enclosed fence.
Yeah. So.
And then, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think in talking with Ken, Mr. Dawson about this before, that's something that if the acquisition for Peoples goes through, that equipment can be moved if necessary to the plant. It's not like it's going to be wasted. It's something that we can continue to utilize. That'll just be in a different capacity. So it's not something we're just kind of doing last minute thing too. So anything else on that?
Mr. Chairman, when it comes to enclosure of chlorine tanks, I know that it gets pretty hairy. Right. This consultant, and I'm sure we're going to have good people on the job. They may, they may recommend rather than a fence, a building. Correct. Instead, so I've seen that before.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all.
Thanks, Carl. All right. Anything else, gentlemen? I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Hopefully, Mr. Dawson and them get to feeling a little bit better. So with that, we'll go to item number 11.
Motion adjourned.
Motion by Councilman Sally, second by Councilman Cagnolati. We are adjourned.